Professional game, you get out with what you put into it. It's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
But not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Tomas O'Shea, he deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word go today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Curry. Curry leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it high. He's put it over.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.
Hello, and you're very welcome to another episode of Treaty Talk, episode 265, I should say, with myself, Tom Clancy, and the evergreen Matt O'Callaghan from the Weekly Observer and Vale Stars newspapers. A reminder that all GA coverage on Sporting Limerick is in association with Knowles Menswear. Check out knowles.ie for the latest offers this January. Matt, we were speaking last week about the Limerick Hurlers, and we were talking about their game was deferred when we were talking. And now it has been consigned to the history books and not in returns of playing. It has been discarded and it won't be played. Limerick versus Cork, Munster League, consigned to the dustbin, really.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's quite obviously that the elements didn't look too kindly on the Munster Senior Hurling League because it has now failed to get going for three different reasons. First of all, it was dense fog. Then it was a hard frost, and then it was Storm Isha. So, there was hardly anything else that could come to impede it other than what eventually called halt to it was, of course, fitting it into the calendar, and I could see straight away when I heard it was called off last Sunday, in my tiny little head, I couldn't figure out where it would be accommodated, especially with that very important game that Limerick have next Sunday with Tipperary in the Dillion Quirke foundation game. And if the Munster Council could get a guarantee, probably that Cork would win it, they could have probably chanced playing it on Tuesday or Wednesday night evening. But such are the vagaries of sport. They had to make provision for the possibility of Limerick winning and Limerick having then to play a final. But to a certain degree, I feel a bit for Waterford in this case. Now, the Waterford side of the group started earlier because I think it was played on the 2nd of January when they went to Kerry and won the match, and they subsequently beat Tipperary. So, and I think it's near. It was their first time getting to the final of the competition. I'd say nearly in 10 years, Tom. I think in its present incarnation, I don't think they got to the final. I think the last time they got to the final, it was appropriately named, I think, the Waterford Crystal Tournament.
Right.
So I feel for Waterford to a certain degree, but it calls into question the wisdom of these competitions. And the proponents of it, of persevering with them are out in number at the moment. But you must recall that just late last year that the GPA voted very, very strongly to abolish these competitions. Yeah. So you just wonder what the future of these competitions are. But they are what they are at the moment. But it's disappointing. No question about it. If a tournament goes unfinished, it's disappointing. Just our competition, especially at the county level, if for some reason it has to be abandoned sort of in midstream, and it is like not finishing a championship in a calendar year. If you county final or county semi-final goes into the next year, it harks back to the 1920s when it was commonplace when an All-Ireland final might be played 2 years after it was due to play. The 21 final, I think, was played in 1923, that sort of thing, But they were different times. But it's disappointing. And I think from a Cork and Limerick point of view, what will probably be more so for Cork will be disappointing that the competitive game, as competitive game, perhaps or maybe 2 competitive games before they face Clare in the opening round of the National League, and Limerick before they would face Antrim. Now, the league takes on a sort of a different importance this year, Tom, in that, you know, there was this kind of thing there for the last few years. You win one match and you're safe. That's not the case this year, because it's the top 3 in the groups will go through to Division 1 next year. And like the 4th team in each group then will play off for the 7th place. I can't get my head around why we have groups of 7. I cannot get the logic of it, I have to say. I have seen explanations, but to me, none of them hold water. You know?
Is it the case that there's a team coming up? I'm not overly familiar with this new format. Is there a team coming up to make it 8, or is it just...
No. It's groups of 7.
Okay, groups of 7, yeah. That's going to give a team an idle week, which managers will lament, I'm sure, next year when, you know, they end up with blocks of... So one team will have the short straw and have maybe a month off, or, you know, they'll have a flood of games, whichever. It won't work out in equilibrium, I suppose, is probably the issue out of a group of 7. But Matt, just to touch on a couple of your points there, the 2nd of January you mentioned at the very start there, Limerick and Clare were due to meet on the 2nd of January in the opener of this competition, and you recall that was deferred back by agreement of both counties, and then that succumbed to a midweek game that Limerick and Cork could have played, and I suppose, you know, hindsight is 2020. Obviously, they didn't know that the weeks would be chopped up with such bad weather, but really under pressure from the start of this competition. And yeah, I'd agree with you. It's never a good look for a competition not to be concluded. It diminishes it immediately, I think, in terms of its importance. And look, I know, like in the COVID year 2020, the National Hurling League, we were down to, was it semi-final stages or whatever it was, and they decided that should Limerick and Clare meet in the league or in the championship, that would be the league final, and lo and behold, they drew each other in the Munster championship. So
I take issue with you there, Tom, because I think it was decided from the outset of the National League that if the finalists were to meet in the championship, that the game would be up. I think it was done on the spot of the moment. I think it was something wasn't done on the spot of the moment. We knew from the outset of the league that if the finalists were to meet in their respective provincial championships, that it would double up with the championship.
Sorry, small issue on my end. We'll fix that after. But Matt, you mentioned just moving things on to where we are now. But you mentioned the Dillion Quirke game there, and obviously this is one I have a feeling, listening to John Kiley a lot over the last 12 months. This is one that, despite it being a challenge game, this is one that Limerick GA were certainly not going to renege on. They wanted to be involved in this. They wanted to be involved last year when the two counties were going to wear a jersey different from the one behind me there. They were going to wear special jerseys in the championship, but obviously that was vetoed by the GA. So at the first opportunity, I guess these two counties are going to meet in a game for charity. So Limerick were never going to back out of this one, you know.
No, and rightly so, and rightly so on the circumstances and all, Tom. And you know my views about showing of jersey. I thought it was not in the circumstances, but it provides both counties with a real good warm-up game for the championship, for the opening league the following weekend, and plus at the same time giving a major boost to the finances of the Dillion Foundation, of Dillion Foundation. Like, and you're right, there was no way in God's earth that Limerick were going back out of the Dillion Quirke, nor should they. And no matter what the Munster Senior Hurling League was going to do, like Limerick were going to fulfil that fixture. And as I say, you know, apart from the value of the game going into the league, really the whole circumstances in which the game is being played, and the reason why it's the unfortunate it's being played, the sad passing of Dillion Quirke, and now the establishment by his family of the foundation. It couldn't be a more worthy cause.
Yeah, and it's obviously, unfortunately, it's where he passed as well in terms of Semple Stadium, so that's quite a poignant venue and home of hurling and all the rest of it that comes with that, as we know. But there's also little bits and pieces on the day. I see there's going to be screening for younger players, I think teenagers and younger even. So this isn't just give us your money. There's actually other stuff involved around this, and the Dillion Quirke Foundation has already screened a lot of young athletes for issues surrounding cardiovascular. So I would be no expert on the matter, but there's already a legacy from Dillion's passing. Unfortunately, we'd love to be seeing him lining out for Tipperary against Limerick in a championship game or whatever it is. But there's already a legacy from what his family and obviously clubmates and everything have established. So this is great to see. Limerick are obviously backing it to the hilt. There's jerseys, the commemorative jersey people can buy online and all the rest of it. This is great, and obviously just a super rivalry between Limerick and Tipperary, going back well before my time, before your time even, Matt.
I can't use the Jack get out clause that I wasn't around that day, but
the rivalry between the counties.
I read about it, and I've witnessed it down through the years, because I can remember the fallow 60s, like when we were bystanders mainly in the Munster Championship, but of course I can remember that famous victory in 1966. Above in the athletic grounds when Tipperary had won 4 of the previous 5 All-Irelands. They had won 61, 62. They lost in the Munster final 63 to Waterford, won 64 and 65. And they were All-Ireland champions and red-hot favourites. And we beat them 4-12 to 2-6, as far as I remember.
Double scores.
Or something like that. On a day when Limerick really unleashed Damon Cregan on the unsuspecting hurling world. I think he got 2 goals and 5 points the same day, if my memory serves me correct. But that was a special day in the annals of Limerick and Tipperary. But apart from that, Tom, the 60s were for the most part pretty fallow for Limerick. And Limerick didn't really turn the corner until they beat Tipperary in the League of 71. Richie Bennis with a last-minute point above in the athletic grounds in Cork. And, of course, Bennis repeated the medicine again 2 years later in the 73 Munster final. So, the rivalry is intense, and who will forget the Munster final in Cork during the COVID period when there was a 25% capacity, and Tipperary appeared out the gate at half-time, but Limerick had other ideas. So, and who will forget that the in 2007,
you're going to say
they had to meet 3 times. So when you're talking about Limerick and Tipperary rivalry, you're talking about something really, really special. And I have no doubt both teams will put their best foot forward next Sunday, as they should, for what is a very, very worthy cause.
Yeah, well said, Matt. And I suppose there was a few times where Tipperary won along the way there, but we certainly remember the Limerick days as well. But Matt, Limerick and Tipperary.
I was selective with some of the days I remember now, and specifically.
No problem.
But I always told this story. I've told it, and listeners are tired of listening to it. The first time I ever saw Limerick playing was in the Munster Championship in the athletic grounds in 1960 against Tipperary. And guess what? Limerick were beaten 10-9 to 2-1. And I cried all the way from Cork to Glenroe, because somehow I was convinced pre-match that Limerick were going to win.
And the thing is, you came back for more anyway.
I was in short pants that time, Tom, so I suppose tears was the order of the day in those circumstances,
Yeah. Well, I think my earliest memory of any Limerick team attending, certainly from my point of view, was being over on the open stand side before it was its current open stand, when it was just terracing for, I think it was a Munster must check it out sometime. Actually, it was maybe in Munster under 21 semi-final or final, Limerick and Tipperary along the 3 in a row. So I in 2 was probably in sharp pants there around the year 2000 or 2001. So I suppose it's fond memories. It was the Tipperary with the Finches jersey, and I think Limerick with the Red Cow Moor. And so we're talking at the turn of the millennium or thereabouts. But Matt, moving things along, the Limerick and Tipperary rivalry will be renewed as well at the schools front in the Harty Cup final. Nina CBS and Artscoil Reach will meet in the decider next Saturday week. That is the early days of February in Ennis Cusack Park hosting this one. We were out in Kilmallock for a dramatic enough encounter between Thurles CBS and Artscoil Reach, Matt. Artscoil Reach, the momentum had been gone. It had lost it all, but in fairness to them, they found, I think it was at the last 3 scores of this game, showed a bit of quality, a bit of guts, and Mark O'Brien winning, or he won, Patrick Carney won a free, Mark O'Brien put it over, and the referee's whistle sounded from the next puck out. So gut-wrenching if you're from Thurles, but Artscoil Reach, you know, they stood up as good teams do when the need is greatest, right at the death to get the win.
They did, Tom, and you will recall as well that there were 10 minutes gone in the clock when Artscoil Reach were leading by 8 points to no score.
Yeah,
we witnessed, I'd say, 10 minutes of the best hurling that I've rarely seen as good in my life. Possibly the 2021 All-Ireland with Limerick, but it was of that ilk. It was just simply magnificent hurling. But full credit to Thurles, they hung in there. And we could see, as you recall, that they were getting a grip coming up to halftime. By halftime, they had reduced the margin to 5 points. They had a very good third quarter. And then they got the goal. And it was really throwing down the gauntlet at that stage too. This was an Artscoil Reach team who at one stage in the game early on looked invincible. And now suddenly they were behind. That was a 10-point turnaround, you must remember, for Thurles, from being 8 points down to being 10 points up. But it was then we saw the real character of Artscoil Reach. And it is the second time that we have seen the character of Artscoil Reach in similar circumstances. Because if you will recall, when they played John the Baptist in the quarter-final, and John the Baptist closed the gap to a single point going down the home straight and had the momentum with him. It was again, Artscoil Reach found that little extra bit, you know, and in the semi-final against Thurles Sarsfields, it was Mark O'Brien, an All-Ireland winner with Clare Minors last year, who was taking the frees because Daniel Chaplin, who was the normal free taker, had gone off. And, you know, and I'll tell you, Tom, none of the 3 frees that Mark O'Brien scored was a gimme. The first one was a 65 to narrow the gap to a single point. The other one was further out, and he landed it from distance.
From the centre spot, wasn't it? Yeah. And
the third was from an awkward angle.
Yeah, about 45 out from goal and over at the sideline. Yeah.
So, you know, full credit to Mark O'Brien and full credit to Artscoil. You know, in the circumstances, a lot of teams would have folded. Had you been so far in front and suddenly gone down the home stretch, you're hit with this tsunami of a goal. And it was a great goal. Make no mistake about it. A very, very good goal. But it took something special to get a goal on the day. Because if you will recall, neither goalkeeper was really tested up to that point. Maybe there was 1 or 2 pretty good saves, 1 or 2 at each end, but that was it. But the real threat of a goal, and it came so suddenly, and it was so well executed and so well put away by young Heffernan, wasn't it? Cormac Heffernan, I think.
Yeah, the corner forward. Yeah.
The corner forward.
Cormac Fitzpatrick.
You know, it took some character on the part of Artscoil Reach in the circumstances, and like they didn't lose their composure, they didn't lose their shape, they just got on with it and clawed it back. And those 3 late points, you'd have to say on the balance of play, I don't think there can be very little argument about it, Tom. The better team on the day won.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't disagree with you. I would say, Thurles, they showed plenty of character themselves to come back
They
from it.
did, absolutely.
Their problem, of course, was the start. I mean, we were joking, we were taking our notes there, Matt. 1 minute, 1 point, 2 minutes, 2 points, 3 minutes, 3 points, 4 minutes. They left themselves with a mountain to climb, and in fairness, they climbed it. They were on top, and then they were quickly it was turned back on them then in the dying stages. But I think Ardscoil Reach showed their quality, and they could be a team that could click someday and really, go to town on the team. Now, I don't think that will come in the final. No, they'll be certainly favourites against Nina CBS, but they have some serious talent in that Ardscoil team. But if we could flip it to the other semi-final, Matt. Now, obviously these were on simultaneously, effectively, so we couldn't venture over to Cappamore, but there was no shortage of drama in this one, and unfortunately for the Limerick contingent and their classmates in Charleville CBS, they were at the wrong end of it here. I think they led in stoppage time, deep in stoppage time, but Nina, by luck or by hook or by crook, they found a goal, and that got them over the line. So heartbreak for Charleville, and as we said, the Limerick lads involved as well.
Yeah, this disappointment for Charleville, and as we flagged last week, it was the second time that they met in the championship, and there were 4 points between them in the group stage when they met at Meelick, and there was 4 points between them when they met in Cappamore. But the scoreline doesn't tell the real story last Saturday, because Charleville, I think there were 7 or 8 points up at one stage during the game, and they were leading, as you said, coming down the home straight and going into injury time. And Nina got a goal in 2 points, and to win the game by 4 points. So, obviously there is nothing between these two sides now. In the quarter-final, Nina CBS appeared to have made a statement when they had a massive win over CBC from Cork in Bancha. And as you know, CBC teams have been pretty strong, and CBC had knocked out St. Coleman's, who were one of the fancied sides. But we were saying here last week that Charleville came with their own pedigree. They came with the pedigree that in the group in the preliminary quarter-final, they had knocked out the holders Cashel Community College. And in the semi-final, they had knocked out what looked a very, very strong Middleton CBS team. So they came with their credentials. And it looked for a long, long time during the course of that game, that they were going to prevail, except for that last bit of a blitz that took Nina over the line. Yeah. But it sets it up very, very nicely for the final. I agree with you totally that Ardscoil Reach are favourites, and I shudder to think what would happen if Ardscoil Reach produced for 60 minutes what they produced for the first 10 minutes against Thurles. It was simply phenomenal. It was just simply memorable, the quality of their hurling. But they had to dig it out in the finish. But Ardscoil are favourites, and I think they'll get over it. But they'll get a game of it from Nina. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah, and Nina are managed by Donegal O'Donnell, I believe, who is he was coach with Limerick maybe as far back in the Limerick senior hurling team, that is, as far back around 2014-15, I think. He was under TJ Ryan's tenure. And look, he's been around the place in terms of coaching, and he certainly knows the game. So the levels of focus that goes into these teams now, and not to say that there was none in the past, but certainly these teams are treated like county teams, certainly at Harty level. They really prepare, they train a lot. They probably do video analysis now because it's available to them. They're obviously looking at stats, they're looking on players, habits and all the rest of it. There's real preparation on into this. It's big business almost, but it promises to be a good final. Obviously, it's a competition that Ardscoil Reach got used to winning. Now, with a schools competition, obviously the players move every year or every 2 years, but Nina are coming in with no baggage of, their predecessors winning it. or maybe no baggage of losing it either. But Artscoil Reach, there's that weight of expectation that, you know, they have a lot of guys from Limerick and Clare, minor panels from previous years, and there's this kind of thing that Artscoil Reach don't really lose finals now. I know they lost their last final, but that team went on to win the All-Ireland. So every team that has reached a Harty final has done something for Artscoil Reach. So, I mean, maybe there's a little bit of extra pressure from that point of view. I know these are young players, but that could come into it too.
Yeah, well, as you say now, they have established their own tradition over the last decade or so in getting to finals and winning finals. By my calculation, and again, this is from memory, Tom, I think the last time that Nina CBS appeared in the final was in 2012.
Yeah. I think
it's going back that far, so they wouldn't have the same tradition in the school of as Artscoil Reach would have in reaching the final. But you know, a final is a final, and we saw what St. Joseph's Tudor produced in their final 2 years ago. We saw what Cashel Community College produced in the final last year. You know, it's not unheard of the outsider or the underdog coming good in the Harty Cup final. A lot of it is on the day, Tom. A lot of these are young lads, and you know, for a lot of them it'll be the first final appearance. But I take your point. You know, so many of that Artscoil team have been involved in finals, be they with their county or be they with their club. You can take the 5 or 6 that were involved in the Clare minor hurling team of last year to start with. Yeah, you can take the joint captain of the team, Fintan Fitzgerald, see what he's been through with Mungret in terms of finals. You've seen the 2 lads from the Piercing, what they've been through. Daniel Scully has been through a final with Drummond I've no doubt Sean Morrissey, if he was up to the age, would have been through too. And you've Fionn O'Brien and Goals, who has represented Limerick. Like any place you look on that team, there is quality, pedigree. But again, Tom, it comes with the caveat and with the health warning, it's all on the day.
Yeah, it is on the day. It's a 6th, Artscoil Reach are heading for a 6th success. They've been in 6 finals, winning 5 and losing the 2022 decider. But Matt, they broke through in 2010 with the likes of Declan Hannon, Shane Dowling, and beyond that, then you had, the names are endless. But you had Keane Lynch, you had Mike and Peter Casey, a lot of the guys, on the Limerick panels, and you know, more latterly, then we've seen the likes of Shane O'Brien, representing Artscoil Reach, you know, and it shows no sign of relenting. Obviously, the way these things go, it goes in cycles. I know going back into the 60s and 70s, CBS in Sexton Street was obviously considered the hurling stronghold, but it creates, as you say, it creates a culture maybe, and it creates a kind of a desire to go there. Guys that are interested in hurling, they're picking their school when they're 12 years of age. They may lean slightly towards Artscoil Reach as opposed to maybe any of the other schools that might be in their catchment. And as we see from the guys in clubs, there's guys willing to make the commute as well, that they want to get involved with Artscoil Reach. And you know, that means it shows no sign of relenting in terms of you know, very, very strong hurling teams.
No, and their rise to the top has coincided with the Piercing to a certain degree, and there's a huge link and a huge crossover of players that have represented Artscoil Reach and in turn have represented the Piercing. So, you know, but the only thing about it is that the main beneficiaries of Artscoil Reach last year were Clare, with 5 or 6 Artscoil Reach winning All-Ireland minors with Clare. You know, yeah. Obviously we 2 green misted individuals would prefer if they were winning All-Irelands with Limerick.
Yeah, but no, in fairness, we must credit to Clare lads. I think when Limerick played Clare last year in the minor championship, I think there was maybe, top of my head stuff here now, but there was probably 7 Clare and 8 Limerick on the 2 panels in Artscoil Reach. So basically probably the full inter-county minor team at their disposal. That'll tell you the depths. But I'm sure Nina will have a thing or two to say. And as far
as I remember, Tom, before you go away from that one, I think Limerick won it.
Yeah, well, they won the group game. We won't say anything about the semi-final and beyond.
No, I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, but formidable enough Clare team, in fairness to them. Yeah, that is set anyway for Cusick Park in Ennis, County Clare, next Saturday, the 3rd of February, 1 p.m. throw-in for that one. And I tell you, if you're not familiar with the club or the schools game, I can tell you, you'll be pleasantly surprised with just how good these two teams will be prepared and the skill level on show. So
also that day now, we can't forget it. We have another Limerick team in the final that day when Skull Pole Kilfinnan will be playing in the Munster College's C final against Glanmire College.
Yes,
that is taking place in Fethard, 3G the same day. So that's a game worth looking at, and it's obviously we'll be looking at the games more in depth next week.
Yes, yeah.
But I just want to put it out there that Skull Pole will be playing in the Munster C final. Now it was a C final that they lost, I think just 4 years ago, to Colasta Tressa Canturk, who had Brian O'Sullivan, who plays with UL now, on their team.
Yeah.
And it was a final that Pallaskenry lost last year to Mitchelstown CBS.
And have lost in the past.
It could be time that we brought that trophy back to Limerick.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
But we'll be talking about it more, and it's good to see Skull Pole Kilfinnan. The enrollment in Skull Pole Kilfinnan has tripled over the last 10 years. And there's a very good ethos of hurling there. And among the staff, in just as a matter of interest, among the staff in Skull Pole Kilfinnan is Sean O'Donnell, the well-known Limerick statistician.
Yes, I'm sure he's having an influence around the place.
As I say, it's on Saturday week, so we'll be talking about the two finals in greater depth next week.
Yeah, definitely. And the first schools game I played, we mentioned two schools there, Pallaskenry, the school that I went to, and Skull Pole Kilfinnan was in Kilfinnan. So that was the first schools game I remember playing. So I always kept an eye out for Skull Pole, and great to see them reaching the Munster decider. But Matt, you mentioned third level there because of Brian O'Sullivan and UL. He was lining out for University of Limerick last evening. We'll come to UCC was in a minute, but UL 2 goals and 30 points to 1-14 from TUS Midwest. Obviously, this is a Limerick derby, but for the third year in a row, UL held all the aces. I blinked halfway through the match last night. I was along the sideline and I said, geez, I've been here before. UL putting their cross-city rivals to bed very, very easily. And no shortage of Limerick in interest in the UL panel. Aidan O'Connor with 5 points, only played 40 minutes or so. We'd Paddy O'Donovan coming on getting a couple. We'd Adam English getting a couple. Colin Cochran getting a couple. Scores spread all over the place. And Grode O'Connor of Tipperary, the main man in terms of 10 points. But this is a very, very formidable UL team. The fact that Paddy O'Donovan isn't starting will suggest the depth they have. This guy is a serious operator, as we know from his club Effin, but there's no shortage of depth in this UL panel.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. And they are a very formidable side, and you need only look at the two scores that they have racked up so far against them. It was ATU Galway, I think, in the last round, and now against TUS Midwest. And you could say possibly that the draw probably might favour them because they were probably bunched in two of the lesser known lights in the competition. But I think they've sent out two start messages to the remainder of those that are competing for it. And they've already safely manoeuvred their way into the quarter-final. And they're going to have a home quarter-final now. And by my reckoning, the home quarter-final will be against either Maynooth College, MIT, or UCC.
Yeah, that's it.
So you could have a situation. You could have a situation Maynooth are in the deferred game. That was called off because of frost. Will entertain Mary on Monday night.
Yeah.
And then Maynooth will travel to the Mardyke in Cork on Thursday night to take on UCC. Now, were Mary to win against Maynooth, and which could be very, very likely, even though it is away from home, then they would be through to the quarter-final, leaving the dubious honour of UCC and Maynooth playing for the right to travel to UL for the quarter-final.
Yeah.
I think that's it by my reckoning.
That's it, yeah. It's cross groups, Group A for Mary I and Group B for UL, and UL have won Group B, so they're waiting the runners up. We didn't even I don't know if we even mentioned it there, but earlier, Wednesday afternoon, I was at that one as well. 125 to 20 points. Mary I got the better of UCC. It was 14.
I thought you'd forgotten about that one, Tom.
No. I'm not going to shoehorn it in, Matt. I'm going to drop it in like an atomic bomb here. But 14 Cork men on the UCC panel, and there was one tip man alongside him. They struggled to really raise a gallop, Matt. I know you missed the game in the flesh, but like Mary I looked like a team. Like it's the best summation of it I can give is Mary I looked like a team. Jamie Wall seemed to have them firing. They obviously have classy individuals, Shane O'Brien to name but one, but they look like a team that, were playing for each other. They've obviously a much smaller pick of players than UCC would, and maybe that focuses the mind better for Jamie Wall and Pod Collins and Mark Jennery, his selectors there as well, that they're only working probably with 30 plus players, whereas I think maybe too many cooks in terms of what UCC had at their disposal doesn't help them. But just to touch a few bits from the game, Jason Galan, obviously Aaron's younger brother, is still in goal. I think he's finishing up in Mary I this year, so his last tilt at the competition, he scored a point from his own 20 from play. So he took a sharp puck out, got it back, and then just opened up the shoulders and landed it nearly in the car park at the other end. But now people will say Mary I's pitch is short, but still had to strike it straight and true. And I can tell you, UCC didn't let him have a sharp puck out for the rest of the game. He also got a point from play, and Shane O'Brien scored 5 points in two just before half time and 3 early in the second half. So maybe in about 10 minutes of play, he got 5 points. Typical Shane O'Brien scores, catching him above his opponent, going away from goal, left and right, straight through the middle, what we've come accustomed with. And there was obviously other Limerick involvement. Great to see a couple of youngsters coming in off the bench. Vince Harrington of Napier Street, Gushin O'Farrell of Askeaton were introduced. Obviously, 2 guys on the Limerick 20s in recent times, and I think even were still eligible for it in 2024. But a lot of Tipperary involvement. But the Limerick guys stood up, and look, Mary I have, a bit like Artskull Reach, Mary I have developed a bit of a culture for themselves in this, and they've punched above their weight. I think it's fair to say in the last few seasons of this competition, haven't they? Yeah,
but Tom, they're a strong side. There's no doubt about it, and I think there's going to be no pushover for anybody in this competition. But you were talking about the Limerick and the Tipperary representation there. What about Adam Hogan, Dermot Ryan, and Shane Meehan from Clare?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
3 top class. Adam Hogan, a nominee for Hurler of the Year. Dermot Ryan, a nominee for an All-Star.
Yes, and Shane Meehan is...
I think that they're a quality side. Because, as I said, I don't hide that UCC is my old school. I was hoping they'd win. But, and without going into the configuration of the team, 14 Cork and 1 Tipperary, I was disappointed that our own Eddie Stokes and possibly Ronan Fox didn't get a run.
Yeah.
Because
they were
we saw, from a senior hurler point of view, we saw, particularly in 2023, Eddie Stokes, in my opinion, coming of age as a senior hurler. And you must remember that Jones' backs were to the wall. And he was absolutely one of the outstanding performers, slotting in at centre back and in different positions. And to think that he can make the Fitzgibbon Cup team, I'm just wondering. And like Ronan Fox, who was playing with his college in Galway but has moved to Cork this year. Both were unused subs, Tom.
Yeah. And just
I'm afraid I don't get it.
No, even the one I didn't understand is Iarla Daly, a regular on the Waterford team, really, and he was only introduced as a sub. So, the team there, just looking through it, Ger Millerick of Cork was a cornerback. We had Shane Kingston playing fullback. Brian Saunderson, who's now probably just debatable as to whether be Cork number 1 or number 2 in terms of goalkeeper. Ben Cunningham was on the freeze. You had Robbie Cotter. Darragh Stakelin was the Tipperary man. Brian Hayes got 4 or 5 points from play. Cormac O'Brien. Names were coming used to, but I don't know, as I said it to you on air last week, Matt, there's been a lot of hype around these Cork players because they've won 20s and they've won minors, but a lot of them haven't done it at senior level just yet, in the same way that, other players we've mentioned from other counties, even you mentioned the Clare lads there, they have done it to a degree anyway with Clare. They've shown up.
But I'm at a loss to know, Tom. I'm at a loss to know why the 2 Limerick players weren't either on or one of the first to be on. Now, Daly was injured for most of last year. He started on the bench. You had Shane Barrett starting on the bench. You had Owen Downey starting on the bench. I just don't know what's going on. I can't get my head around it, Tom, but all I know is that they're in a battle for survival, like the most successful team in the competition. It's a holy grail for them every year, the Fitzgibbon Cup. And I don't get it, Tom.
No, I know.
Move on. Next business.
That's it, yeah. But in credit, well done to Mary on a fine win. And I don't think 8 points flatter them in any regard, but they still have a small bit of business to do up in Maynooth next weekend or next Monday. A draw or a win there will win them the group, and or should win them the group anyway, and put them into the quarterfinals. They're obviously trying to avoid UL, so winning the group will be probably the best way of doing that. Matt, we were talking last week about Monaleen in their Munster Junior B. Unfortunately, due to a bereavement in the club, which we mentioned, the game was understandably and rightfully postponed, but they have had a reschedule, just pushed back a week. Saturday, 12 p.m, they will play Wolf Tones in the Munster Junior B Hurling Championship. But game postponed for the right reasons. There's no rush with it. And I'm sure Wolf Tones understanding, and it means Monaleen now can give it a full crack this week.
Yeah, they can give it a full crack, and then their road map in the competition is almost fully planned for Monaleen now, because they know if they beat Wolf Tones, they'll be meeting Drummond Inch of Tipperary, who had a big win over St. Oliver Plunkets of Cork in the semi-final last weekend. And then Leinster is down to 3 clubs. I think it's Ballinasloe from Galway, Harps from Laois, and Burr from Offaly, who are in the Leinster final. So it's down to 6 now. It'll be down to 4 at the weekend. And as I explained last weekend, the respective provincial finalists after the provincial final are crossed for the All-Ireland semi-final. The winners of Munster play the runners-up in Leinster. And the Limerick have only won this competition once, and it was won by Doon. I know you're going to come back at me now with Ballybrown winning the football, the only team to win the football.
No. You brought it up now at me.
But Doon are winning it, but Doon didn't win the Munster final that year. They were beaten, I think, by Killinall in the Munster final that year, but came back and won the All-Ireland, which brought the only All-Ireland. Now, Limerick have been in a number of finals. Cappamore have been in the final. Rathkeil have been in the final, in the All-Ireland final. Bruffer in the final last year. Had a great run in the competition. So I'd be expecting Monaleen to get the better of Wolf Tones.
Yeah. I think Monaleen
get over that, and the game against Drummond Inch in the final is a game for another day.
Definitely, yeah. I think they're well served by guys being involved in their 21s now. Obviously, some guys are ineligible because they're on the Monaleen senior team, but younger guys trying to push towards that would have been playing all through the winter. They would have won the Junior B, I think it was in the 11th of November, and then they would have gone straight into the 21s, which is a nice build up to this. They're not coming in cold, a lot of the guys. Now, obviously, guys that are over that age have had to keep themselves sharp and all that, but I think that could be a nice tonic for them. Obviously, they got to the 21s final, and the 2 or 3 youngsters that will be involved here, will want to be hopping off the ground. So, yeah, best wishes to Monaleen. Hopefully, as we were saying last week, the Limerick-Clare rivalry, they can get another notch on the Limerick side of things with a victory there. So that kind of brings us towards the end of the hurling chit-chat. The football match, we were mentioning in brief last week that Antrim are coming to McNeville Park for the league opener, which is this Sunday. The full panel at the disposal of Jimmy Lee was released on Thursday, and I'm not sure about surprises at this point of view. It's very difficult to know who's in and who's out, but I suppose it's confirmed now who's there. There is a good amount of quality in it. I don't think anyone can dispute that. There's a good amount of experience too, but it looks a lot different from last year. I think that's the easiest way of putting it. Things have changed an awful lot for Jimmy.
Yeah, Tom, it really brought it home to me, and when the message I really got out of studying the panel was that the size of the task facing Jimmy Lee, in that 17 players that were available at the end of the competition, at the end of the championship last year, the Dillion Cup, are not available for various reasons. There's 4 or 5 gone abroad. There's injuries. You have the retirement of Donald O'Sullivan, like all big names, and it gave me an idea of the challenge that he's facing him in replacing him. And there are a number of others, very important players on the injured list. You have the like of Hugh Burke, who's on the injured list, Mike Donovan, Killian Ryan, and Josh Ryan, who has been out for a year, but he's closing in on a recovery. I was talking to himself, actually, and the word is that he's hopeful that to play some part in the league, which would be a big boost for Josh to get back into the green jersey. So, but it gives you an idea of what Jimmy Lee has to do. It will be very, very interesting to see what his selection process, what his selection will be. What has he learned from the game against Kerry and the subsequent game against Tipperary? Now, I know between the games that there were players coming back. You had the like of Colin McSweeney, who missed the Kerry game, Ian Corbett, James Norton coming back, and now Peter Nash is back in the panel, and so like Cathal Downs, very importantly, is back in the panel, because if you're talking about success stories for Limerick football in 2023, Cathal Downs' performance and the way he has contributed to the Limerick Senior Football squad, and the whole Limerick Senior Football thing has been an outstanding success story. And it's good to see him named in the panel, and I understand that he's closing in on a return. Now, the team is going to be named on Friday evening. I think it will be named around 10 o'clock, and the hurling team to play Tipperary in the hurling will be named at 9. But it will be very, very interesting to see what Jimmy Lee's first selection for, because, the McGrath Cup is the McGrath Cup, but the real business, Tom, starts here. Real business starts here. And in the situation that Limerick are, down so many players from last year, with a new management setup, home forum is going to be hugely important, because there are some very daunting trips down the road, none more so than 6 days later when Limerick go to Newry. There's a trip to Mullingar, there's a trip to Tullamore. Mullingar, of course, Westmeath or bogey team, but that's for another day and awfully. We just focus on Antrim. Now, Antrim had a poor McKenna Cup, just like ourselves. They went out without qualifying. They had a poor league last year. They barely survived in Division 3. But what they had was a very, very good Carlton Cup.
Yeah.
They went out of the Ulster Championship at the quarter-final. In the Carlton Cup, they were unluckily beaten by champions Meath in the semi-final. Now,
Great
the
game,
message that I'm getting loud and clear from that is that Shane or Andy McEntee came in as the former Meat manager, came in as manager of Antrim last year, and it took him up to the Tarleton Cup really to get a grip on things and to stamp his authority on it and put his own imprint on it. And Antrim are going to provide a very, very formidable challenge, Tom. They're going to be a very, very formidable side. Make no mistake about it. And we will get a sense. The game is on at 12:30 in McNeville Park. We will get a sense on Sunday, after the Antrim game, exactly where Limerick are at. It'll be interesting to see, does Jimmy Lee hand debuts? You know, will we see the like of Aaron Neville? Will we see the like of Emmett Richter? Will we see the like of Daniel Daly getting first starts? Like Dara Shukru is another now that has picked up an entry and is added to the list. Will we see Ty Shukru getting a first start? Will we see Brian O'Sullivan getting a first start? Darren the Harty. Darren has played before. That there are a whole lot of imponderables out there. It will be very interesting to see. You know, Jimmy and his management team have been close to the panel. They've seen how they're working, how they're going and training. You saw him at first hand against Tipperary. I saw him at first hand against Kerry.
Yeah.
And now is the hour of reckoning. And Jimmy stressed after the Kerry match that like it's all about Antrim. So like and let's hope that Limerick get off to the start that they desire and get off to a winning start.
Yeah, and just my own 2 cents on it. Like looking at the panel that was released, Danny Neville is probably the standout name for me in terms of, you know, we saw how good he was. Obviously moved abroad for a couple of years, probably was it around COVID time, I think, or maybe after the first season in COVID, I think from 21, and he's been missing for 21, 22 and 23. And can he pick it up where he left off? You know, he was in flying form at that stage, in fairness to him, and a real threat for Limerick, and hopefully he can get up to speed and be included in the panels as the weeks goes on. But there's obviously so much change. There'll be a change in goals. Obviously, Aaron O'Sullivan was the number 2 for so long in terms of goalkeeper, and you know Jeffrey Alford is providing competition there now as a new man on the panel. And you know, can Aaron maybe do what the other O'Sullivan Donald had done before him, and you know, be a linchpin of that Limerick team. And you know, Donald had his critics around the county, I'm sure he did, but I tell you, he gave stellar service. And actually, when you broke it down, was, you know, a very smooth operator between the sticks for Limerick. So that's, you know, another significant change.
Sure, look, that kind of stuff I wouldn't listen to it at all, because that's a lot of that is coming from guys that can't put one leg past another, like when they have given a fraction of the service that Donald O'Sullivan gave to Limerick. You know, the like of them I totally ignore them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but look, we'll see what the team is out on Friday evening and what Jimmy has gone with. But yeah, I think you're right. We'll know an awful lot more maybe by 3 p.m. or thereabouts on Sunday afternoon, and hopefully it's a winning start for Limerick. I think consolidation. I think in our colleagues in the Irish Examiner interviewed Jimmy in the last few days, and I think he had said that what the success looked like in the league, and I think it was, you know, in the top half, or kind of I can't remember the exact phrase he used, but that was kind of the thing. You know, if we're in maybe the top 4 or better, that would be a good season, and I couldn't disagree. It's very hard to disagree with that. I think we'd be very happy if you said Limerick finished 4th in Division 3 by being, as I said last week, being competitive in every game. Obviously picking up a couple of wins to put them in with that position, and then looking then ahead to invariably the Munster Championship, but invariably after that, more likely in that Tarleton Cup venture. Matt, so that's Sunday 12:30. Note the earlier start, obviously allowing Antrim time to get back up the road. But you mightn't be there on Sunday, I'd say. You're probably elsewhere around the county, because the Junior B football was cancelled last week. Ballylanders refixed to face Shannon Gales of Tipperary. I've been corrected, as you said last week. 2 p.m. on Sunday. They just false start last week with the weather, but back in action this week.
Yeah, it's in Paddy Carroll Park in Ballygran. As
Yeah.
we said last week, it's in Paddy Carroll Park, and what the Knockaderry GA Club have done is that they have revised the fixture list, just putting every game back by a single week. So the rotation hasn't changed. There are no doubling up of games. It's going to be on quarter-final this week, quarter-final next week, semi-final the week after, semi-final the week after, and final. In the absolute same rotation, only just moved back by 1 week. Now, it is not in Knockaderry, because the Knockaderry pitch at the moment is undergoing development, major development, which started immediately in the aftermath of last year's competition. So it's in Paddy Carroll Park, Ballygran, at 2 o'clock next Sunday. Now, it fell foul of Star Misha last Sunday, and it's Ballylanders against Shannon Gales. And I think we spoke a bit at length about it last week, so there is not much point in repeating ourselves, but I will be there, and I'll give a first-hand account next week. I don't mind saying I hope I'll be reporting that Bally are in the semi-final against Kilmahel.
Well, I hope so too, Matt, and hopefully the weather, as we say, will be a bit more kind to them this week. Just looking elsewhere, we mentioned third level in terms of the small ball, but the football third level, UL obviously in Sigerson action. Well, they were off this week, sorry, but in Sigerson action in the two previous rounds and matched up 2 fine wins, one comfortably and the other one in a bit of a squeeze. But that means they're into the quarter-final, and I suppose they'll probably be relieved that they've drawn a home tie in terms of that, and they'll play next Wednesday, the 31st of January, against DCU, and DCU had a fine win over the TUS Athlone, that was. So, but with this competition, Matt, difficult to get a yardstick for teams until maybe the knockout stages, or very hard to know. Maybe some of the technical universities in football maybe aren't as strong as they had been at times. The ATU, which is what college is that? It was Athlone Institute of Technology, probably never known for their Sigerson prowess. So a good win for DCU there, but hard to know how that will equate then against obviously a decent enough UL team.
Yeah, it's a hard one call, and you're right about your overall observations and remarks about the competition and the standard competition. We're down to the last 8, and I remember last year I followed a round of it because, as you know, UCC won it, but they were beaten in the first round and by UL, and came back and won the final against UL. But I would be the first to admit that they got there by the grace of God, in a couple of rounds, and that can happen at football at this time of the year. But UL had a very, very good win over ATU from Donegal in the first round. And, don't for 1 minute underestimate the win that they had in the second round when they went to Maynooth and beat them by 8.7. That could prove to be a very, very significant result in the whole context of it. Now, DCU are going to be a tough outfit. I have to say that I know very, very little about them, other than that the present Cork full forward, Conor Corbett of Clyde Rovers, will be playing with him from near Mallow. And he is a formidable forward. So, other than that, I know very little about him. But, quarterfinals, bit of a lottery, hard to know. You're trying to judge one that will say the A's and the B's and the losers and the winners and all that sort of a thing. But the real business is now. The second chances are all over. And I fancy UL, I think, to dig it out, especially with home advantage time.
Yeah, I think the home advantage at this time of year, especially with National Football League now burdening the Sigerson managers, I think home advantage could be crucial, but we'll wait and see. That's in UL next Wednesday, and I suppose this time of year, some people might want to get out. I can tell you, there's worse things you can be doing on a Wednesday than go out to UL. It's free in, you don't have to pay, and you can get out and get a bit of a walk in first or after, and then just rock up to St. Maguire's Fields normally for the probably a 7 p.m. throw, and I think that's time is yet to be confirmed. But next Wednesday, I tell you, you'll see some good fare there, and you might see the next big thing from around the different counties in terms of football stars. Matt, the ladies' football, they enjoyed themselves last weekend because they picked up the maiden win of the league. Obviously, they drew the first day out against Wicklow, but they got the better of Derry in, I would imagine, tricky conditions. If Saturday evening where I was anything to go by, the weather was certainly worsening as the evening went on, but they got over the line in Doon, and that's a nice tonic for the new management. Pick up a win and build from there.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that get over the line is the right description of it.
Right, well,
I think they were quite comfortable, Tom. Full credit to Doon. Doon pitch was in excellent condition. But Doon GA could do nothing at all about the wind and rain. But certainly they had the surface in excellent condition. And Limerick were a bit slow on getting going. They tended to defend deep and do so in numbers and then hope on the break. And it was on the break that Deborah Murphy got the first point. But it was when they got the goal eventually around midway through the half, it was Iris Kennelly who, even talking to herself about the goal she got the previous week, which in my opinion is a candidate for wonder goal. Kind of a scissors goal. She was involved in the goal again this time because she sent in a very tricky shot into the goal, which wasn't dealt with properly by the goalkeeper, knocked off the woodwork. She wasn't able to control the rebound. Fiona Bradshaw was in a shot and tapped it into the net. After that, it was Limerick all the way. Now, the conditions militated against good flowing football, but Limerick never looked in danger after that. They accepted a level of control, and they introduced Amy Murphy again for a second run out, and she's named from the stats for next Sunday, as is Caoimhe McNamara from Kilkenny. Caoimhe made her debut against Derry, and her contribution was to kick a point at a night when scores were at a premium. But we've seen the team that's named to play Kilkenny on Sunday, and it's very good, an experimental team. I was more looking at the subs bench. If you look at it, you have Roisin Ambrose there, you have Yvonne Lee there, you have Katie Mee there, you have Alva Quay there. There are others on the Andrea O'Sullivan on the bench, but it's obviously Leisha Brown is on the bench. It's obviously Mike and Sean and then the management team. They want to see others in action. It's no disrespect to Kilkenny, but Kilkenny have been struggling in this competition. They have been struggling at this level of ladies football since they came back into the competition last year, after an absence of 4 years, and their struggles have continued this year, and they've suffered a couple of heavy defeats to Leitrim and Longford. Now, Leitrim and Longford, would be one of the strong contenders for a top 4 position. So as Limerick are, But Mike Quilligan and Don Kiley, as I said, and the management team are going to use this occasion to have it at other players, like as I said, Evian Murphy is starting, and Caoimhe McNamara is starting, and but basically what they have done is they have left the defence intact. Basically, it is the defence. It is the defence that lined out against Wicklow. Now, Roisin Brown was named corner forward against for most. So she's a very good one and a very, very good addition to the panel. So she's back, named at cornerback for Joan Maguire, has slotted in very, very at fullback. So I think Limerick are going to beat Kilkenny. I think it would be a shock of seismic proportions were they not. 7 points out of 9 going into the first break, I think the lads will be happy.
Yeah, and I suppose, I don't think there's any danger they're going to lose this game. I mean, Kilkenny and we use the say no disrespect for them, but they're just not at the level required. And I think I think it would be it'd be rude of me to say that they were and say that they might cause an upset, but I just don't think they will. And there is, even though Limerick have made a lot of changes, there's no shortage of talent in the replacements there. I suppose it's just get them into a competitive game, see what they're made of, see can they play to the game plan, and put their hand up for a more regular starting berth. I suppose that's the carrot and stick that Sean and Mike will probably putting out to the players ahead of Sunday. But look,
I think another thing about it, Tom, is that I think they're going to use the second half on Sunday. I'm only speculating this now. They're going to use the second half on Sunday to ease the like of Roisin Ambrose, Cathy Mee, Yvonne Lee, Alva Quaid, who've been carrying all these injuries. They're going to ease them back into the team. And then they will have a fortnight, a small bit of game time under their belts, a fortnight to recover and prepare for when Longford visit 2 weeks later.
Yeah, and I think am I right in saying there's unlimited subs in the Ladies National League? I think is that still the rule? I think it was a couple of years ago. I don't know, has that changed? But
sorry, I missed that one, Tom.
Sorry, 7.
I missed the question.
Is the subs rule still fairly lax in the Ladies Football League? I think.
It is an endless subs during the league. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
but Limerick have been very cautious in that.
Yeah.
In that they haven't made wholesale changes during the game. Now that could change on Sunday, I think, because like when you look at the bench and when you look at the injured players, and they're named on the bench for a reason. And I was talking to Roisin last week, and she's practically fully recovered, and raring to go again. And Cathy Mee is the same, and Yvonne Lee, like, it was unfortunate. The injury she picked it up in the warm-up against Wicklow.
Right, yeah.
And you've Alva Quaid there as well. So, I anticipate that, I might be totally wrong in this, but I anticipate that those big four who've been missing the last couple of games, that you're going to see them eased in during the course of the second half.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. That seems like a good strategy, and obviously we'll be expecting Limerick to be on, as you say, 7 points, 3 points for a win. Reminder in the Ladies Football League, so 2 wins and a draw from 3 wouldn't be a bad start at all for this Limerick group. Top 4 spot is the target from the league phase, and then build from there. Matt, the final, I suppose, on the field action to discuss in here this week is the minor camogie side. Fortunately bowed out of the Munster competition last weekend in, I'm told, pretty horrific conditions. The wind and rain had hit the normally sunny southeast, certainly not sunny this time of year, but Waterford edging Limerick out in the minor camogie by 3 points last Saturday. Yeah,
1-9 to 1-6. 1-7 to 1-4.
7 to 1-4, that was it, yeah.
It was Waterford had a very strong wind in the first half, and they led at half time by 1-6 at 1 goal. Now Limerick rocked them as early as the 6th minute when Roisin O'Brien, after good build-up play by Poppy Giltinan and Emma Mullins, got a goal, and it rocked them a bit, but they recovered, and by half time they'd established a 1-6 to 6 point at 1 goal lead. Now Limerick made early inroads into the lead in the second half, but Waterford dug in, and Limerick had it reduced to 1-6 to 1-4 at one stage. But Waterford got the last score of the game through Emma Fitzgerald, and it put him a goal clear. But the Waterford goalkeeper, Caitlin Garner, made an absolutely stunning save in the very last minute, which would have either forced the game to extra time or forced it to a replay. Now, it was a full-length diving save. Full credit to the girl, fantastic save. And it meant that Limerick bowed out. And had they got through, it would be very, very interesting, because Cork have dominated the Munster Minor Championship for years, But Cork were beaten in the other semi-final by Tipperary by 9 points to 6 in the rag.
Right, so the door was open. Yeah,
they would have been advancing to meet and beat hopefully Tipperary had they got through. But like they've going into the All Ireland series, which will be starting, I suppose, in the next 4 weeks. They've got 2 very good games under their belts. They have beaten Clare, who would be roughly around the same level as Limerick, and they've come so close to beating Waterford, who would be slightly a notch above them. So it augurs well, Tom, for they will be in the All Ireland Minor A Shield competition, which is the second tier of the championship, and in which they were beaten in the All Ireland final last year by Antrim. But having those 2 games will be very, 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 very useful and very beneficial to them.
Yeah, certainly, and I suppose difficult this time of year to find the scores to win those games, but unfortunately it was Waterford who just did enough. Obviously, low scoring affair, reflective of perhaps the weather, but I'm sure no shortage of endeavour from the Limerick side. Matt, I think that brings us to a conclusion this week, unless there's we were discussing super value this time last week, so unless there's any other ills of the Gaelic Games world out there, but I think they've been fairly controversy free this week, I think.
Yes, I think we're pretty controversy free, yeah, which is unusual. Like maybe you could say that the scrapping of the Munster Senior Hurling League had an element of controversy to it, but it was inevitable the way things were going, Tom.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I suppose that's about our lot so on Treaty Talk this week. We thanks you forever as ever for tuning in. And this will be available across all social media platforms. Do share it with a friend who may be interested, and we'll chat to you again very, very soon.